Hi guys, so today we are going to be working on Rhino by creating a free-form structure made up of individual units which combines to form the entire structure. Let's begin by giving the form by creating the base by using rectangle to create rectangle or circle to create circle or any shape that you require. So once we have a base, we can go on to the front view and duplicate it to give whatever height you require. So I take 2, you could just write it down in the command. So I'll go for 2 meters. This is the height of the structure that you require. So basically now we're creating a skeleton to our form. So for that we can go use interpolate curve interpolate points, which the points are exactly on the curve, so it helps us to edit the curve much better. And once we have our structure, so now we're creating a skeleton. This is just a section. We could edit the curve as per we require in the later stage by using the control points. Now we can move on to the perspective, and if you see now we have a base and a structure, which is the skeleton one ready. Now what we want is we want a free flowing form. That means each section needs to be, you could have it identical, or we could change it a little bit so that the free flow is not quite rigid. It will be more free flowing by changing the curves, in the opposite direction, but not totally out of the direction, not totally different or like totally in the different axis, but in the same axis, just changing the curves. So you could change it by just flipping the curve, and this apparently seems to be now the opposite. If you see, we've turned around the curve, so that means the higher point of this curve is on the opposite direction of the other curve, and since it's like too similar, you can't really see the difference. So then we can play around with edit point by changing the curves even further. So for that all you need to do is go and click on edit point, and the points on the curve, they appear. Since we used interpolate curve points, the points are on the curve, and unlike the other option of curve, the points aren't basically on the curve itself. So this helps you to get the precise editing once, and then yeah, so we can have the section, we can have a form into 4 different sections having different types of curve, giving it even a much more free form looking structure rather than just one structure just flowing through in one direction. So we can edit the points as per the curve or the form you require, but make sure if you are working with a certain constraint of height, then that's why I created another base at the bottom to know that that is my constraint and I cannot move beyond that. This is my height restriction. So for this you need to turn your gumball on. I have another video in which I run you through the basic commands on Rhino, which I basically use mostly. Once we have our curves ready, which is we have our skeleton ready for the freeform structure, then we can give it a skin. For the skin, and make sure your curves are not identical, so it gives out the more free looking form. So what you can see is all the curves that I have in my section are varying from each one. And it's really helpful, this gumball tool. It helps you not to deviate from your axis, from your x or your y axis, and the red click is my left click and the yellow click is my right click. So that's an annotation. Now let's give it a skin. So just select all the curves, and the command is loft. In Loft there are different options that we can give to it, which is dye. So you can see, as per I'm changing the options, the look and the Loft is also varying as per the different options. This is what happens when you go for developable. So we go for another ununiform structure. To turn on the shade, you can go on it, so it comes under display. There is render, which you can see your surface. If you turn it on, then you can see your surface, otherwise it's always in wireframe. We have our structure ready. I always have a habit of copying it, so that if I want to redo something or want to rework on it again, I always have a backup with me. So now once we have our skin ready, now what we need to do is, since we said we're going to make a freeform made up of individual units, but now you see it's like one single unit, which is the surface. This is what I like about Rhino, is you can make the surface and then you can create that surface into individual units by giving it the form that you want. So first, for that, we'll create a grid point on the surface. So the surface, we can edit the number of points that you require, the grids, like you can see. So the command is point grid surface domain number. You put in the amount of number that you require, and you get that grid on the surface, on the curved surface, not a flat surface, but on the curved surface. Moving on to next, now we have our surface, the grids ready. Now we need what we want as that individual unit to be. So let's go for the basics. Let's go for a circle. You can go for a square or whichever desired shape you want. So this individual unit circle is gonna be laid on will be laid on the entire surface, on the grids, and that would be our form made up of. So once we have a circle ready, now this is the second command, which is point panel grid custom. So now we can custom the grid that we made on the surface with the panel. So the circle is our panel that we use to put it on to, that is our panel that we're going to put it on to the surface. You select the surface, click enter, done. Select the surface and then select your panel, and now you see is you getting a you form a grid. It becomes a grid, so the circle becomes into 4 different circles. Now they're close to each other. We don't want it to be sticking close to each other, so let's just run the command again. Point panel grid custom. Select your structure, select the surface, done, and then click on to your panel, and now you see you have an option for giving in the distance, and then when you click done, that's what it projects your panel onto the surface of your curve. Isn't it cool? I mean, I love that command. I use it wherever I can to make my work much more simple and easier. Thank you guys for watching. You can check out the remaining video and the part 2. Thank you.